What is it? Why are these videos doing well? Like, what is the thing that our audience, or really just men in general, are looking for? And it came down to really, we were like, okay, well, it's things that give men status. They want to know, but it's really validation checks. Am I attractive to him? Am I status enough that, you know, I'm perceived as valuable to the opposite sex, right?
Again, if I reflect on my own self, my parents both worked to support our family and made sure my brother and I had everything that we wanted as kids. And so in order to do that, though, they had to work a lot.
Right.
And so if I look back and I'm honest, I missed time with them. If you look at a lot of women's love language, it's very varied. And so I feel like if you're a woman, it's especially important to look back and be like, oh, why do I feel like this is so important to me? Because I have friends that words of affirmation are their number one, or physical touch as a woman. But I also think there's no harm in kind of dissecting it the way that we have, even though some people will be like, you didn't even read the book, I'm not going to watch this. Well, you didn't need to comment then, so who knows? But at the same time, it's just interesting to think about. Because like I said, I've always felt like when you ask a guy, a majority of the time, they're like physical touch. And to me, when I think about it, like, I don't see some guy being like, hug me, you know, like for the physical touch. It's more of like he feels loved, like you said, when he feels desired, which would be like a woman like touching your arm or being like, you're so strong or something, or like sitting next to you and like, I don't know, playing with your hair or something. What do you guys like about the physical touch?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hugging and kissing is in there as well.
Right. I'm not saying they don't want it at all.
Yeah. But it's anything that's indicating an amount of sexual desire that.
Right.
Right. Because it's sort of the way that men generally value themselves in the hierarchy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they're honest. Right. So most guys are not honest about that. But even I was just talking with Nicole, the Captain Sinbad, and because we were looking at some of his videos on a coaching call that we were doing, and we're trying to kind of get to the bottom of, well, what is it? Why are these videos doing well? Like, what is the thing that our audience, or really just men in general, are looking for? And it came down to really, we were like, okay, well, it's things that give men status. They want to know, but it's really validation checks to be, am I attractive to him? Am I status enough that, you know, that I'm perceived as valuable to the opposite sex, right? That's what tends to draw the most guys. And so then that's the thing that is really motivating a lot of what they do.
Right. And it makes sense that words of affirmation would be kind of next, because I feel like that goes with the respect thing, right? Like a man wants to hear that you respect him, or that you admire his thoughts and his decision and his wisdom and things like that.
Right.
So again, I feel like a majority of men would have those
probably
too.
Well, what's your top one?
Quality time.
Okay.
And we've talked about like quality time. I feel like since we're together all the time, that's like fulfilled. I never have like I mean, besides when you're working, but that also is a time where I'm like, Nicole, get a grip. Like, you're going to see him in a little bit. Like, it's fine. But again, if I reflect on my own self, my parents both worked to support our family and made sure my brother and I had everything that we wanted, you know, as kids. And so in order to do that, though, they had to work a lot. And so if I look back and I'm honest, I missed time with them, right? Like spending time with them.
Right.
And so it makes sense to me that quality time is important, because that is the thing that I wanted that I couldn't necessarily have as a kid. And again, like, I'm not trying to talk poorly about my parents. They did all this. And I'm sure they realized that they had to sacrifice in some area to get to that point.
Sure.
But just saying that, I feel like if people reflect on where they're at, especially more women, I guess, because like I said, I do feel like a majority of men are looking for that physical touch
Right.
to fulfill their need for desire now. But if you look at a lot of women's love language, it's very varied.
Right.
And so I feel like if you're a woman, it's especially important to like look back and be like, okay, well, why do I feel like this is so important to me? Because I have friends that words of affirmation are their number one, or physical touch, you know, as a woman, or quality time, or some people like receiving gifts or, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And so it makes you think like, okay, well, do they like receiving gifts because maybe they didn't get something that meant something to them like when they were younger, or, you know, I don't know, something like, it just makes you like think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that men can't do this with their own love languages, but I just feel like I said, it's the majority of men, it's like more about right now.
Yeah.
Whereas for women, it's like, and I guess it makes sense because women are more focused on love and relationships.
Yeah.
And so they would be the ones thinking about the love languages more anyway, or, you know, trying to fulfill maybe something that they didn't have back then.
Which one? Okay. So what if you flipped it and said, which one, if it were missing, would you not want to lose the most? Like, which one would be the most damaging to you if you never got it again? If you never got physical touch, or if you never got words of affirmation, you never got gifts, you never got quality time, or...
I think quality time.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I'm not saying, well, I mean, that's why it's the number one, right? Because it's like the one that makes you feel most connected to somebody. So it's like, do I want all those other things to go away? No. But if I'm sitting here and I'm like, what would cause an emotional reaction from me if I never got this again? It'd be the quality time.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, think of it like, from my perspective, quality time is the important one. If we barely got to see each other and lived like roommates, basically, like a lot of people do, to someone who cares about quality time, that would feel almost like you don't have that relationship and you don't have that strong of connection because you're not spending time with each other. And really being present with each other, right? Because quality time, it's not just time. It's not just...
It's just,
you know, sometimes you can just sit with the person that you care about and be in the same room and hang out, and that does feel good to you. But it's quality time for a reason, right? Like getting to connect with each other, getting to, you know, be close and have deep conversations and those sort of things. So I do think it'd be the top one. Which would you say that it would be, if I asked you that question, would it be physical touch since that's your top one? Or would it be words of affirmation? Or I feel like those were the top two of yours,
gifts. Right? No, just kidding. Gifts is a weird one. Like,
I know that's not true because I have the hardest time getting you gifts, and like, what does John want that he doesn't already have?
Yeah.
I mean, I do also agree that gifts, but I mean, like I said, if maybe they never got a gift or never was presented with a gift in a way where someone was like, this made me think of you, or like, I know you really wanted this or something, maybe that would make the importance a bit higher.
Yeah, that just seems weird. Like, I'm going to insult, 1/5 of people, but it's not 1/5. It's like 2%. But who has gifts as their top
Somebody.
thing?
Someone.
It just seems weird that you would have gifts as it,
I mean, like, it does feel like it's a more material, because it is the most material one.
Right. But like, even if like, no judgment, just like, does that makes you feel the most loved?
If your love language is gift giving or receiving, is it gift giving?
It's receiving. It's receiving.
Okay. If it's receiving gifts, educate us.
Yeah, because I don't. It just seems to.
Maybe if we'd read the book, then he would have educated us.
But yeah, I mean, I think I might.
Wrote it.
I think I would probably. Well, I don't know. I guess it would still be the physical touch, but maybe it's a quality time. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's weird because you don't want to take away. Like, what would you? What could you live without? Or I mean, what could you not live without? Is sort of the thing.
But at the same time, I guess I don't view physical touch as physical intimacy. Like, yeah, you have to
I
touch
see.
each other, but I view like physical touch as like touching each other outside of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's not like, I'm not thinking of it as I'm never going to be physically intimate ever again.
Right.
But maybe men would think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why they would choose that. But I don't see it as that, because I feel like if that was what it was about, like just the sexual part of it, it would
Right.
be called something more
Yeah.
having to do with that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think that, I think it just depends on what people think of when they think of the things, right? Because it's even the same thing like words of affirmation. It depends on what those words are, right? And who it is.
Right.
Like certain things are more meaningful than other things, right? So,
Right. But it just makes me think too of like people with words of affirmation, maybe they didn't hear the things that made them feel as loved as they could be. I'm not saying they were never loved
Yeah.
from important people in their life. Because you're right, like it usually is the important people
But I think
that they care about.
And I think the biggest point of the five love languages thing and is the idea that just because this thing makes you feel loved doesn't mean it makes the other person. So don't just do the thing that you think
That's
that
what
you would
people
want.
get confused
That's
a lot.
the biggest piece of it.
They're
I
like,
think, right?
my love language is quality time, so I'm going to spend quality time with him.
Right.
But you have to know what his is. So like yours is physical touch.
Right.
So what I would do is touch your arm or like give you more hugs and do that. And then you would spend more quality time with me, not vice versa. Not me be like, oh, let's hang out, John. Like, you know, I mean that, because then it's just fulfilling your own.
Right. Exactly.
Like trying to force the situation to fulfill your own rather than fulfilling theirs.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you just assume that if you like it, they must like it. Right. That's
better than